All right, that still continues the conversation on the state of corruption in the country, which is not only limited to the NYS scandal, as we're seeing. We also have the maize scandal, the Kenya Power scandal as well as the Kenya Pipeline Company scandal. There's so many scandals. It's unfortunate that this is the state of the country, and especially in light of the president having said this is, his time to have his Big Four agenda and trying to see how much he can push that agenda. But then we still see that within even the same cabinet secretaries who have been mandated with some of these key ministries. We have one of them who's already being mentioned quite a bit in regard to the NYS scandal, that is Cecily Kariuki, but she has since refused to comment on the same. She was asked when she was out of the country and said she will not comment on it until she's formally served with any kind of summons or any kind of questioning on the same. And we wait to see how that goes in light of the president saying that corruption is going to derail his Big Four agenda and has the ability to destroy Kenya, in his words. And so we wait to see what goes on with that. And just to have a conversation on this and shed light on this, I'm joined by Alutalala Mukhwana, who's the managing partner of Alutalala Mukhwana and Company Advocates. Indeed. Thanks for joining us. Indeed. So many scandals. Oh. So many scandals. What are your initial thoughts on this, first of all?
Dan, I feel very deflated, honestly speaking. I've had an opportunity to talk about this matter on a couple of shows. And what this does, it takes all the energy out of you, particularly when you look at the magnitude. And more than the magnitude, you look at the lack of shame in the manner that it is being done. But Dan, it's important that our viewers take a brief journey back to history. Because as we always say in that other wonderful language called Kiswahili, mtoto mleavo ndivyo akuavyo. We as a nation, right from 1963, when our founding fathers brought this independence to us, and for those of you who have not lived far long enough, this must be interesting. Mzee Kenyatta had a very interesting clarion call to us. He would say that I have slaughtered an elephant. And this elephant, it's up to you to sharpen your knife and chop off as much as you can. If you do not chop off as much as you can, if you do not sharpen your knife, then katika Kiswahili tena, shauri yako. Do not say, I didn't do it. Come 1978 and Mzee Moi takes over and he says, I will do exactly that. Tafuata nyayo, will follow the footsteps. Dan, if you look at those historical snapshots, you realize that the imagery of our national leaders, the imagery that has been cast, has been the imagery of eating. That here it is, it's up to you, you do your best and eat. With time, it turns out that this imagery was actually meant to encourage people to do what we are now saying. Why do we say so? As early as 1968, and there is a very interesting caption doing rounds in the social media, 1968, 50 years ago, yes. Moi, then vice president, saying, this corruption is too much, but don't say it in public, don't take it to the media, bring it to the government so that we can form a committee to investigate this corruption. Never mind the irony of complaining to the government about corruption in the same government. And so 50 years down the road, we are again being told, and very interesting now from the handshake done, Honorable Raila tells us that in the handshake of March 9th, they agreed that they'll form a commission or a committee that will tackle corruption. What committee? What commission? And so Dan, I'm deflated, to be honest. The amount of theft that is happening can only be explained in simple terms. It is the work of people who are placed highly in government and in political office.
And just to continue our conversation in studio, we are now joined as well by Bessie Kathambi, who's a governance expert. Thanks for joining us. And just before we cross over to Enoch, Bwana Alutalala had just told us what his general feeling is about this whole. We're having a tyranny of scandals. If you may put it that way. We have the NYS, we have the maize, we have Kenya Pipeline, Kenya Power, which they've just addressed this morning. What's your feeling about all this?
Okay, to begin with, Dan, thank you. To begin with, I believe if we really want to work on this corruption, what we're doing here is just drama. You know, we're really getting entertained, and this is entertainment. For me, the first step would be that money that we are talking about is in someone's account. It is somewhere, it's lying idle somewhere. What has been done to reverse that money? That money was paid through a system. So if it was paid through a system, then we can trace the exact account before they do the arrest. We want that money back. The underlying word is the money back in the treasury where it should be, so that now when we are going to arrest, we have said we have gotten back our money, and now we are using the laws to make sure that they pay for looting that public funds. But for what we are doing right now, this is more of drama. And we'll keep on, because we've had people arrested and they're free. So what will change this time?
And so, for instance, when you talk about this money being in someone's account, is in this way they're first of all trying to establish, a family that say, if they say the Dan has been, named in this list, don't they have to, in terms of going in line with procedure, confirm that Dan was actually paid X amount of money before they can do any reversals?
Okay.
I'll let you speak, then Alutalala is burning, and then we can come to him.
You see, there's a system. That money was paid through Treasury.
Yes.
Yes. And even there are laws by CBK that there are certain amounts of money that cannot be transferred without their approval. So if that money was done using all these institutions' approval, then why is it that we have to go all through these theatrics to get back our money? Done. It is already there. We know who it was paid to. Reverse the money. Now let's follow the procedure, because what more ascertainment do we want if the money has already left Treasury? So the drama that we are having right now, I don't agree with it. Get the money. Get the money. The money is there. Yeah, and if it has perhaps left this country, we can always order it back, because there's a system. There's a system to how that money can be tracked.
Alutalala.
Dan, we are addressing the symptoms of the ailment. We are not addressing the cause. The cause of this mess is lack of political accountability, period. I have said, until we fix the politics of this country, this is a child's play. There are more to come. Because as long as the government that goes in power is not a government that is truly accountable to its people, as long as the government that goes into power is a government which goes to power because they have done networks and schemes of bastardizing and defiling the electoral laws, and therefore today they can very comfortably and proudly tell us that in 2022 so and so will be the president, and indeed he will, nothing will work in this country. The problem is lack of political accountability. And Dan, tell me one thing. In fact, I expected that you guys, what you'll be running here is not this NYS thing. Because practically what Jubilee government has touched on has all turned into a scandal. Let's begin with SGR. First of all, we were told it was going to be a bullet train. If you look at the adverts that came with the SGR, we were told it was going to be a bullet train. It will take 2 hours, 3 hours max to Nairobi. What were we given? A slow-moving snake, which takes 6 hours to Nairobi. In Tanzania here, there is an equivalent that is being put up, at less the amount we used hours for SGR. In Ethiopia, there are examples. Begin by showing us, under SGR, there were integrity issues. How was it sorted? Then go to the Afya House scandal, the 5 billion, and tell us how it was sorted. To the best of my knowledge, the PS was actually promoted to the land ministry, a more lucrative gravy train also. Go to the issue of NYS before. Mangiti was arrested. It's nothing special in Nomolo being arrested. Mangiti was arrested. Was he convicted? Where did the evidence go? Go then to the other scam, the Eurobond. There was Eurobond 1. Eurobond 2 came less at an amount, didn't even arrive in Kenya. And when the poor Edward Ouko said, I can smell the paper trail to the US, I'll pursue it up to the US and he put his best brains, men and women together to pursue it in the States. Citibank. Did he arrive? Play that clip where the president berated him and told him, are you normal? You are telling us you want to go to the Citibank? Did it proceed after that? Nothing. Done as a media of repute, do us favor. Pursue this looting trail and tell people that this is just a dress rehearsal for a mega cover-up. This will go nowhere. These people, the thieves, cannot get away unless they have the support, either direct or implicit, of the men and women who push and pull things in this country.
Okay, Bessie.
Lastly, before
Yes.
you cut me short,
Yes.
do we have a shortage of laws? Let's begin with the Constitution, integrity. On the basis of that, everybody who goes as a CS must be vetted. Is there vetting happening in Parliament? No. Is there oversight? No. Why? Because Parliament is an extension of the executive. There is no oversight. There is no Parliament as currently constituted that can oversight our resources. None. Go to the next one, public officers and ethics. Isn't there law? Go to the anti-corruption, isn't there law? There is no shortage of laws. There is no shortage of means to stop our money from being stolen. What there is a shortage of men and women of integrity who are true to country and to the law as the needle is to the pole. The rest is a waste of a good Lord's time.
Bessie,
Yes.
do you feel that, just picking up on where he's left, with Uhuru Kenyatta being in his, what we call his legacy term, do you think that there'll be a change, there's a potential of a changed narrative in light of, we've seen in the first time there were so many things, and there's waning confidence in what the executive can do to ensure that those who are responsible for Mwananchi's money being stolen, let's not even just keep saying corruption, just say being stolen. Do we feel that this being a legacy term, that there's possibility of there being a bit more action?
Okay, to start with, let me just disagree on one point he has said.
I like disagreements, carry on.
He has brought in the different scandals. For me, I would not look at it as a regime, because this regime started with the first one that we know as Golden Bag. So if we have to go back, getting back our Kenyan money, we go back to Golden Bag. And all the people in Parliament today, quite a number, if we were to put a percentage, started there. That's where the fleecing of our Kenyan resources began. So if you start taking administration by administration, then let all the scandals that have been involved, let everybody involved in them face the same law. Now, about the legacy, for me,
Allow me to respond to that once she's done.
Okay.
When the president is talking about you're talking about his legacy. For me, and a personal advice to him, this fighting corruption will be his legacy. Let's forget about the big four. If actually he wants to really leave a good name and a good legacy for himself, this is where it starts. As much as I would want to be a pessimist, I'm seeing that he's also probably is one of the things that gives him a nightmare every day, saying that some of the people he put in these positions, hoping that they would make a change, have changed to the negative. They have changed the narrative that he wants. But I think there is hope. If we keep the pressure on him, then I believe he will also crack his whip. As far as his legacy is concerned, if he really wants a real legacy, let him fight corruption.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate the good lady's sentiments. First of all, we don't need to be apologetic about this thing because indeed it is killing us. But maybe I can give her the benefit of doubt because she joined us after I had already begun the intro. And in my intro, I stretched back to 1963, where I say that this monster actually began during Mzee Kenyatta's time. We could go on and on into the issues of land, into the issue of tribalism. It's a lot. You see, we try to be good students of history. And history is replete with all this. So maybe because you hadn't joined, I'm apportioning blame from 1963, not just the Jubilee government. Secondly, I appreciate her pessimism, her optimism. You know, ladies are always very optimistic. And the good lady is very optimistic. In fact, that is why churches are filled with ladies. Our mothers pray for us all the time. they encourage. So I'm happy that she's optimistic.
That is a detour. It's not that they are church. Being optimistic that we can change doesn't mean that I am trying to church here. We bear the biggest brunt. Corruption is hurting the common Mwananchi.
So why you forgive him before you critique?
I have not forgiven him. I have said if he's really serious on getting this corruption, I want the money back. You can do your dramas of arresting everybody, arrest them, take them even to the worst prison ever. But all we want is the money, because I am fed up. We always arrest people. There's no one. They don't go anywhere. The court has a way. They have some sort of a hideaway, an escape route for them. So I want the money back, because when the money is back, we can do a lot. 11 billion plus the 1.9 billion, that can help us. We can run the next election. 2022, that's enough money for the election. We can build schools, we can pay the teachers, we can pay the doctors. So that money has to come back. Before you give me all these theatrics, I want the money back, because Treasury knows how it did.
Very well done, and that's why I said, because we're not giving the answer. For me, the answer is at the doorstep of our political leadership, because they're the ones entrusted with the responsibility. We have elected them because they'll take care of our resources. We have elected them because they gave us a manifesto and they promised us good health, security, better life. So when all else fails, we must go back to the president and tell him, Baba Taifa, ulituahidi, umefanya nini? If you haven't done it, why haven't you done it, Your Excellency? Who is to blame? The buck stops with our #1 rep, and that is the president, and the deputy comes second. If it is not done, the president says it hasn't been done, and historically, not just this 9 billion, there's a lot of money that has been stolen in this country, then we citizens must resort to what we call the remedy of self-help. And the only remedy that I know under the Constitution that is helpful is to say, we cannot be breaking our backs to fund your government, and you are unable to stop the thieves. We are not saying he's the thief, but he has a responsibility to stop the thieves. We embark on what we call tax boycotts. And we don't fund the government until those money stolen come back. Then we see what they'll steal.
But how possible is that in light of, Kenya, we are very politically inclined and Mtuwetu inclined. So you'll find we say, like, for example, the opposition had the boycott, the resist movement.
Thank you.
We didn't see it becoming like a disastrous thing for the affected companies. So do we think, are these ideas that are just good to mention, good on paper, but realistically on the ground they may not work?
Very good question. That is another segment of our Waterloo, the tribe. Again, it began in 1963. Mwangi syndrome. Put my people here because they can cover my back. And so every president who has gone into power has sustained his own clique around him. And by the way, this issue of tribalism is not only by people in government. Even those guys who are in the position, you'll find that whenever they have a slightest opportunity to move near government, the first beneficiaries are their own people. So yes, your question is legitimate. That even if we were to say we get into self-help remedy, withhold our tax contribution, will it work? The answer is, it may never work. Because, Dan, thieves in this country are not referred to by their names. They are referred to by their tribe. So that when I steal and I'm arraigned in court, you'll see all the lawyers playing their sukuti and dancing rhythmically to come and support me. Umundu. The Kikuyus will do the same. The Luos will do the same. The Kenyans will do the same. So our forefathers have put us into this quagmire that everything rotates around tribe. And so you hear in one of the agenda items in the handshake, they say, we are going to fight for inclusivity. What is inclusivity? What do you want to be included in? Just say that Kikuyus are given more jobs, Kalenjins are given more jobs, because it is their leaders who are in government. Can few Kikuyus be removed, few Kalenjins be removed, and put Ndorobos, put Luos? Why are we quoting these things? Because we know we also will do the same when we are there. So we have the dragon of tribalism, and that is part of the problem. In fact, this corruption is intertwined with tribalism.
Bessie,
Yes.
you had a response to that. Do you think, like she talked about the tax boycott, which is kind of gone round, in terms of the, do you think it's a practical solution? Do you think that we'll actually have the goodwill and the support of the Mwananchi, or will we get to a point where we'll have the political leaders, you know, go and talk to their people at their various constituent levels and feel, and then if I am tribe X and my leader tells me do not fight it, I will not fight it, not because it's not hurting me. Do you think we are at that point really?
No, we are not there. We are not even yet politically mature. Let's call it as it is. Because if for sure, I know I pay taxes, right? Why would I want to hear someone telling me because my tribe is the one that is on the crucifixion cross, that they will, I should back out? If you have stolen, we don't even have structures. Let's start from there. The structures that we have are inadequate. It's like we are stealing from one hand, the other covers it up. So when we deal with the structures, yes, we could tell the president, the buck stops with you. But down there, the Mwananchi level, they're also corrupt. So it is a culture we've been nursing, and now we are seeing the fruits of it. How do we deal with the fruits? We have to get to the root of it. The root begins with the structures. Yes, the tax boycott, I don't think it would work with the current political maturity that we have today. They are still toddlers in terms of political willingness and aptitude to it. Now, when it comes to the issue again of would the tax boycott work, why don't we start by passing a law that will tax every MP according to their pay salary? Yeah, when they do pay as that same tax, it will be a wake-up call that the same money they were stealing is going to be taxed for them. Let's make sure that all these privileges that have been bestowed on our members of parliament are withdrawn, so that now when we are telling them we have been paying too much tax for your wage bill, it becomes a point of reason. Because if you tell me today, any organization, because they want KRA to give them that certificate of compliance, who would boycott tax? Let's see if we had the political will and the maturity that is. Let's have all MPs who are really willing to fight corruption say they will pass the bill that they will be taxed according to their pay salary. Let's see what will happen. I would want to see that if they are really willing.
Okay, and some that comes out here is, you know, we've got a lot of what many people have referred to as the cartels.
Yes.
The people who are benefiting off the illegitimate revenues or the illegitimate monies they're getting in government, or those who are, you know, trading with government in one way or another. Are we saying that there's a culture that's become so strong that we are the silent thing that we are kicking out, you know, people of integrity from leadership positions? Because if I come to work, maybe we're an organization and I've come with all my integrity, but my integrity is going to be sealing the taps for you to make the revenue you're getting. You'll find a way to kick me out. Are we saying the system is sort of ridding itself of good people? Alutalala.
The system, first of all, I thank my sister. I think she got it right, except that that law to tax MPs, Alutalala and Bessie are not going to stand at the gate of Parliament and say pass that law. It is the same MPs who will be required to pass. And you know what they did when Sarah Sarem tried to curtail their advances. So really, it's a no-win move. Dan, I still don't think that the system has a problem. A system is as good as its implementers. A law is as good as its implementers. And that's why I insist and return the ball squarely in the courtyard of political accountability. Because why is it that people who ordinarily are competent, they are professional, they are thorough, and by the way, there's no shortage of thorough and competent people in government. How come that when these people go there, all the thieving and the looting happens? It cannot be that the system is. It cannot be that the system is a problem. The system that is a problem is elsewhere. And that has to do with the people who form government. Let me give you an example of where citizens can actually be very good if the system up there is right. In 2007, 2008, when Honorable Raila Odinga and Honorable Mwai Kibaki formed the much ridiculed Nusumkate, there was so much euphoria and happiness by the citizens. They believed that all the bad things that had happened before will be clamped down, that citizens resorted to what we call citizen arrest. Citizen arrest. That they'll not wait for the DCI to go and arrest Omolo. They'll actually go Hakietu, camp at NYS, and insist they are not leaving until he's arrested. It happened along Nairobi Naivasha Road, Nakuru. And citizens waylaid and arrested several traffic police officers who had been taking bribes. Arrested them. And it was all in the news. That may be small, but it's significant to illustrate how it must start at the top for it to cascade downwards. If what starts at the top is garbage, garbage cascades downwards. If what starts at the top is integrity, firmness, and adherence to the rule of law, that cascades downwards. And therefore, the reason why you see that we have very young people, some old but professional, who are not doing it right, is because they have been put there for that specific purpose. And that is why, Dan, not you and I can get these big jobs in government. Not that we are less qualified, but you must be fit for purpose. So if you are not fit for purpose, you will not get that job. So you are put there to steal for them and for yourself.
So that is exactly my question. Bessie, you can comment on this, because that kind of shows how, if I've been put there to steal for myself and for others, it
Yes.
means if I'm a legitimate person, I'll not be put there.
You'll not be
Which means that the system, the people in the system, now becoming part of the system, are kind of reading the whole chain of good people, Bessie.
Yes.
Okay, to comment on that, I'll use what the late Nobel laureate, Wangari Maathai, Professor Wangari Maathai said. We have a wrong bus syndrome. And she explains it, that when we are in the wrong bus, yes, we know our destination is fighting corruption. But all the time, we want to either deflate the tire, say there is no fuel, there is nothing. If we have to fight corruption, we have to check in which bus we are in. If it is always giving excuses, we are looking for tribalism, we have to stop that. Now, when you say about the system, when you have put cartels to sit at the helm of it, to decide who is employed and who is not employed.
Precisely.
Yes, how do you expect that who is legitimate to actually enter? It's not that the system is wrong, but we have put people who are incompetent. I'll give you a very good example. We've had commission after commission after commission, report after report. I would want you, as also for the state, to tell Kenyans 11 billion or 10 million was used for this report. It is gathering dust somewhere, probably in the president's office. What has been done with those reports? Then you will get to see that these people, by themselves, again, have not done anything that was meant to be redemptive, to bring a remedy to it. Therefore, you can't say it's the system. We have to either identify who these cartels are and be brutal with ourselves and say, this one we cannot live with. Now, a very good thing that has happened with the National Cereals Produce Board, it has just shown us exactly how the cartels work, and now it backfired, because now those who are being paid did not get the benefits of being in these cartels. So here you are, you're starting to expose them bit by bit. And to go back to what my lawyer here has said, is that we have cartels. Yes, we also have regimes that have, now it is our turn to eat. What John Gedongo said, it is our turn to eat. Every time, if I today became the president, I'll make sure my kin and those who are supporting me also have a turn to eat, because it's something it's a culture we are actually socializing our children with. I think it is your TV station that did a small survey and asked young people, if you are given an opportunity and you are not caught, will you steal? They said, of course. as long as I'm not caught. So we also have to address what the society is not doing right. If my child will believe that because I have to be corrupt for them to go to school, that's the only way, even when they are old enough, they will also be as corrupt. So also beyond just the political will, there's the social will. What are we agreeing? When we brought the Huduma Center, everybody was, wow. Oh, we can be served. There is public service. Today, we've removed that narrative that the public office is me to serve them and not them to serve me. So even this corruption, we can start changing that narrative. And I believe that we can.
And you know, this again brings up the conversation about the culture that is not only in the government, because that's the largest target to throw stones at, but down here ourselves as the common wananchi, there's the culture that's there. We're the same ones who are going to bribe, because the government won't always be corrupt within itself, you know, or in cahoots with the people who trade with government. The wananchi here, we're the same ones who will, if it's a matatu, will agree to be the excess being carried. You'll find there's someone who will be overlapping, for if you use the road example, someone who will be littering. Isn't this a culture that has begun, that, you know, we're seeing it happening right from very young? You've talked about someone's child seeing them doing something. It sets an example. So if someone's child sees, if you're driving and you're overlapping, who says that child will not cut the line at the school tuck shop? So is this something that also needs to be addressed right from the very bottom?
Yes, Dan. As I said, I used the Kiswahili saying, mtoto mleavyo ndivyo akuavyo. And it is true that this lack of acceptable national ethos have now spread among the citizenry. They are more or less given up about this ethos. And therefore, I mean, I see it on the road. I am patiently behind the next motorist. There's a slight incident up there, and I normally see it especially on the highways. And so I wait patiently. Within a split of a second, there are several matatus that have overlapped. And the guy behind me realizes, hey, when these guys overlap, they'll clog and they'll be left. So everyone from behind starts overlapping. We are not superhumans. They reaches a level where you say, hey, come on. You have to join the fray for self-preservation now. So you find that now the whole place has become a giant parking because one guy didn't do it right. If only this one guy had been stopped, the entire trigger would not have gone off. So yes, this cancer has spread in the nation. And the Constitution of Kenya 2010 had hoped under Article 10 that the national values would be upheld. And that's why I'm to the point of whining, to appear like I'm whining. This should have been the banner with which the government should have identified itself, so that the leaders and the public officers are of such a reputation that it cannot be said that there is any scintilla of doubt about their integrity. Article 10, national values. But when you see at our political leaders, national values, my foot, they've been thrown through the window. Look at what is happening now with the National Cereals and Produce Board, which my sister has alluded to here. What is happening? And I watched on your channel last evening. There is this youthful MP called Alfred Keter and his partner in crime, for lack of a better word, who were thrown out of the committees in Parliament. Why were they thrown out? What was the procedure? Was there a proper procedure? No. They had been duly elected into the committees to oversight. But they were not fit for purpose. So what happened? The laws are there on how to get in. They had followed. The laws are there on how to remove them. Laws my foot. The MPs were summoned somewhere, and despite Alfred Keter kicking and biting, he was thrown out anyway. Yesterday, the previous day, Keter said, these maize things what I was talking about. And he said he knows more and he'll spill the beans. So he has called for a farmers meeting in Eldoret. What did you see yesterday? Kipchumba Murkomen, Oscar Sudi, Honorable Mandago. And when you hear Honorable Mandago, you know who is there. And quite a number. They are now telling Qatar, we don't want those farmers' meetings. And they are telling him, we do not want you to disrespect the deputy president. Are you beginning to see the nexus? We are gone. Our goose is cooked. Mwenyezi Mungu ashuke. Na asitume Yesu wala Muhammad.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, just in terms of our closing remarks in regards to this whole issue about corruption, and we're in a time when we're seeing a lot of it, what are your closing remarks? And are we seeing this as possibly being infighting between, you know, if there's infighting somewhere, possibly in government, and we say your people are stealing, I'm going to expose them, or you're exposing our people, will expose yours? Could that be the case? I'll start with the lady.
All right. Dan, as I don't think is exposing each other. Is that now the wheel, we've reinvented the wheel until it cannot be reinvented. We've been looting and looting and looting and looting, and our Kenyans also need to wake up. This is our wake-up call. This is the time we say enough is enough as a citizen, as a people, and individuals. When you see something that is wrong, we say no. We say it, and we say it out clearly, so that we are not having gray areas. And now when we come back to the system, when you talk about corruptions, we have institutions. We have, like for instance, this money that we are all talking about, the money that I'm asking every Kenyan to demand that it has to come back to Treasury. The CS should have fired everybody in Treasury by now, because they are the people who paid out that money. And they should be able to tell Kenyans, we can return this money, but we will not give them amnesty on that end, because they have been paying out money to corrupt people. We need our money back. That money has a lot that can be used. Also, in terms of the laws that we have, we need to also educate our Kenyans on the laws, so that they know when this law is flouted, this is the course of action. Because we could be also a spinning drama that when we go to court, again, we find the judge is saying we did not follow due process. Therefore, a person who embezzled walks scot-free. So corruption is something we can fight. And I believe it starts with me, it starts with you. We have to fight corruption. We have known what corruption is. We can define it. Let's define it. We have bribery, we have nepotism, we have tribalism. Let's give a name to this corruption we keep calling corruption. And when we do, we have measures, and put proper measures for every definition of corruption that we have put down as corruption. And I believe when we do that, we'll have dealt with corruption in total.
All right, thank you. Alutalala, as we close.
Dan, thank you very much. For me, Dan, as I've insisted, the rain started beating us way back in 1963 upon independence. We cannot attribute this mess entirely to President Uhuru Kenyatta. This is a cancer that has been on. My view is this: you have asked a question whether people are trying to set up each other. Strange that you've come up with that question at the end. That's a question that should have been a substantive topic. Because in the Jubilee, there have been these rumors that there is one wing of the coalition, then last term, which had been not so clean hands. And what we are being told was that this time now that the President Uhuru is back in for the final term, he doesn't want anything from the other side, which was giving him support, so he'll crack the whip. And indeed, he has said he'll crack the whip. So yes, it could be a time when now the other side is saying, ulituzoea last time, so this time tutakunyorosha. So it's possible that it is a time now to President Uhuru Kenyatta to show up his legacy by clamping down on this corruption. And you see, this corruption has a trail. It did not start yesterday, as I've explained. Therefore, by getting Dubai and Omolo today, and that money, as it has been explained even by the Auditor General, the 9 billion cannot have been spent for 2016-2017 financial year only. That trail then goes back to the previous NYS, and therefore those who had eaten and got off last time, it could be their chance now to be caught up with. So the answer, yes, it is possible that there is a weaponization of this war on corruption to make President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy show up, and to make sure that he delivers his big four, and after all, to make sure that when he leaves, he shall have been seen to have sanitized his wrongs. by whatever description.
Thank you very much, Alutalala Mukhwana, who's an advocate of the High Court and the managing partner of Alutalala Mukhwana and Company Advocates. And we have Bessie Kathambi, who's our governance expert. Thank you for speaking to us and being very bold with your statements and your challenges. And we hope that, these challenges will be taken not just as a conversation in studio, but stuff that is going to go down to the ground and in terms of it to the high offices that need the relevant information. And that has been our conversation on our continuing coverage, extensive, bold coverage of state of corruption here on NTV. Not that the corruption is at NTV, but our coverage on as NTV on the state of corruption.